Hello and welcome to episode 24 of the Little Home Podcast. My name's Bex or Rebecca and I'm coming to you from a very beautiful and springy Victoria, Australia, just outside of Melbourne. It's lovely to be able to podcast again. It's only been maybe 2 or 3 weeks since I last recorded, with a nice big hiatus in between episodes previously, so it was wonderful to realise I had an unexpected day off today and that I could get a chance to podcast and share with you guys what I've been making. Just a huge welcome to any new viewers and a welcome back to any previous subscribers. It's wonderful to reconnect with everyone. I got some beautiful comments on my previous episode, so thank you so much. And I've got a fair amount to share with you guys. For anyone who's new, I am an English gal. I live in Australia, just outside of Melbourne, in the countryside at the moment. My partner Tom and I are in the process of funding and designing and building our very own little tiny house. And if for anyone who doesn't know, a tiny house is a wooden or steel structure which is built on the back of a large flatbed trailer, so it's a movable home, kind of RV size, if you can imagine what an RV looks like. So yeah, it's a very big project and we're super excited. Working very, very hard, which is why I might be a little bit tired, but I'm still getting some crafty time. It's quite amazing how you can find the time to craft when you're busy, but it's so important for my mental state. So I've got lots to share with you guys. If I look over here, it's because I've got a pile of sewing and knitting and lovely things. Yeah, I'm drinking some lovely coffee today in this beautiful handmade mug that I picked up when I was visiting my dad in Wales. It's by a local potter to him and I just love it. I don't know the potter's name and I wish I did because I'd get a million more. It's this beautiful kind of honey mustard colour with wildflowers growing. And I'm drinking a soy decaf latte. It's yummy. Alright, so I might share with you some sewing projects first, because it's one that is what I'm wearing, and I'm really excited. I want to show you. So if you follow me on Instagram, you can follow me at Bex_in real life. I'll pop it down below. And this is my kind of solely creative personal account, and then I've got at thelittlehome.oz, which is more about plant-based diet, and also will be our tiny house build once we've got photos to share. So you can follow me at both those accounts, or one or either, whichever you prefer. And yes, so if you follow me on Bex_in real life, then you would have seen a little bit of this project being made. I'll stand up so you can see. It's a beautiful green, simple linen dress with princess seams down the front, a nice loose gather at the waist and then a zip at the back, and it comes to around a couple of inches above my knee, which is kind of where I really like dresses to go. They look great kind of in the summer, but also with tights underneath in the autumn and winter. So really happy with this make. So this was a self-drafted pattern, and by that I mean, I don't know if that's the right wording, but by that I mean I didn't use like a commercial pattern for it. I have a dress that I picked up from it's a designer, like a large scale designer here in Australia, like a high street store, and did some tweaks to it so it fit me correctly, and basically just kind of ripped a pattern from that, which is something I love to do because you just know that it will fit you, or you're far more likely that it will fit you if you do that. So I've done that quite a few times. And yeah, it's the dress, I don't know, I think I've probably worn it in a few podcasts. It's one of my favourites. It's kind of like a cranberry, kind of pinky red colour with like almost like an ikat design on it. looks like hand-woven fabric. And so I copied a pattern from that, and that one is also lined. With this one I just did a bias edging around the armholes and the neckline, and I used this beautiful, beautiful thick linen in a kind of mossy dark green tone, and I just love it. It's so, so beautiful, and it's really, really comfy. I pre-washed the fabric, which is really, really important to do. If you don't do that, please do, because it backfires so many times. So I pre-washed the fabric, and then I cut out and sewed this dress, and I've pretty much worn it ever since. It's just come out of the wash now, so it's a little bit crumply, but I actually really like it being crumply. I think it's just the way that linen almost looks best, I think. So yes, this is my first finished object. I finished this maybe about 5 days ago, something like that. And I'm very, very happy with it, and I want to make more. And my second sewing project I actually completed a couple of nights ago. Very, very late night sewing, and I'd had a really tough day. Like, I was having a really emotional day, and I can't even remember why. The joy of emotions for you, they're pretty fluid, aren't they? And yeah, I had this stunning, stunning fabric. It's a very, very subtle, it looks almost like an avocado dyed wool, you know, that really kind of creamy muted pink, and the colours aren't coming out so well on the screen, but I know that when I upload them they look a bit more true to life. Excuse me. And so I got this fabric when I was in Melbourne last weekend, and I got it from a beautiful little shop called Kimono House, which is in the Nicholson building in Melbourne CBD, if anybody lives close by. And it's organised and run by a lady who, I think she's an Australian lady, who has spent a long period of time in Japan and just has a love of the culture and the crafts. And so I picked up 1 metre of this beautiful, it's a linen cotton blend. It's very, very soft and drapey, but it has a real substance to it. And you can see, I don't know if you can see there, but it looks almost hand-woven. Like, it has these kind of almost chunky threads coming through, like nubs of threads coming through. And yeah, I fell in love with this fabric, and it was about $25 a metre, and this fabric was... This linen, pure linen, was $26 a metre. So for this dress I used 1.5 metres, and I had a little bit left over, which was really good. And for this one I actually managed to get it out of 1 metre. Just. I actually had to turn one of the pattern pieces around because... and this is the Willow Tank, which is a shorter version of the Willow Tank dress, which is a pattern by Grainline Studios. And I have made this pattern 3 times before, and this is by far my favourite version. And yeah, it's one of those things with sewing where sometimes it really does just take a few attempts to get something which you're really comfortable wearing, which is a bit hard sometimes, so I totally see why people do muslins. I'm kind of self-taught, so I haven't really trained myself to do muslins, but I can completely see the benefit of it. Excuse me. So, what to say about this? So I did a bias edging, as you can see, all the way around, and all the way around the armholes as well. And this pattern has got a really beautiful thick hem, like rolled hem, which just makes it sit so wonderfully, and it fits like a dream, like an absolute dream. And yeah, I realised a few things that I had done wrong in previous versions, and there were silly little mistakes, which is funny because I've been sewing for a long time, but sometimes, because I am self-taught, sometimes I kind of skim over things, and yeah, it's really good to read the instructions. So this version fits so well, and I'm really happy with it. I know it's going to be a wardrobe staple. It's got it's quite a simple design. It's got 2 bust darts, and then the hem, and that's pretty much it. And again, yeah, out of 1 meter, it fits almost. It's not A-line because it's not cut on the bias, but it fits almost like an A-line garment. I've seen people who have done cropped versions with wide leg garments, wide leg trousers, and I could totally see how that would work. I think for me, for this longer version, which hits kind of at my natural waist, I feel like it kind of needs a tighter trouser or a tighter jeans underneath, which is great because I wear skinny jeans mainly. So yeah, I'm super happy with this. I love it so much. I know I'll wear it a lot. The fabric is really what makes this garment. It's a very simple garment. And it's just neutral and wearable. And going back to the whole tiny house build, I love to make things, and I love to knit, and I love to sew, and I've really had to consider what I am making for myself, how often I can wear them, and if I can fit them in our home, which is going to be 7 meters long. So I have the space for a really beautiful wardrobe and craft supplies in there, but I have to be very specific with what I want. And these last garments really make me happy because I just know that I'll get so much wear and love out of them. The fabrics are natural, they're handmade by me, so ethically, from that ethical standpoint, I feel really comfortable with them. And yeah, it's just such a wonderful feeling to create garments for yourself that you just know that you'll get a lot of wear out of, and they fit well. So I'm so happy about these. And they will look very lovely in my tiny house little capsule-y wardrobe. Yay! Alright, so those are my sewing finished objects. I'm going to take another sip. Next up, I've got one finished knitting object, which I'm super excited to share with you guys. So I finished this at 1 o'clock in the morning last night. When I found out I was having a day off today, I just kind of stayed up and finished this because I was so close to finishing it. And this is my Stay Soft shawl by Vera. It's a pattern by Vera Valimaki. It hasn't been blocked yet, and I've got to weave in the ends, but that's pretty close, so I'm happy to call it a finished object. I'll make sure I'm getting it in the right direction to show you. Let's see. Yes, I am. So, this is my Stay Soft shawl. Ooh, it's curling. It's beautiful colours. I'm so happy with. And as you can see, there's some striping here, and also a really beautiful mottled colour just here. So it just worked out so perfectly with these yarns. I ended up using one ball from my stash, which was a naturally dyed yarn, and I cannot remember the designer, the dyer of this yarn, annoyingly, and I can't find any information about it. So, and it's beautiful, I want to have more. So if you know this yarn, please do let me know. Okay, so this, I'll show you the 3 colours that I've used. This is a 3-colour shawl. This first section here was what I knitted first. This is my cast on edge, just here. And this colour is this yarn, just here. It's a single ply, it's a superwash merino, very, very soft. And it is Leo Albus is the colour, and it's called Centreplace Singles, and it's by Miss Click Clack Hand Dyed Yarns, and she's a Melbourne-based artisan indie dyer. And this is beautiful, beautiful yarn. I'm really, really hoping that she will do some non-superwash wools, because she's an incredible dyer, and I'm so happy to buy non-superwash wools, and I know a lot of indie dyers struggle to sell things which aren't superwash, so I'm completely available to buy non-superwash. And it's just such a beautiful dye job. It's a very kind of warm, creamy tone. It kind of reminds me almost of like a latte colour. It's got a touch of browny red about it, and the fibre is just beautiful. It's a very, very fine 4-ply single ply, so it's only plied against itself. It doesn't have another thread going against it. So the second colour that I got from Miss Click Clack is this one here, which is this beautiful mottled light creamy purple tone. It's kind of lilac-y, but a lot more subtle than a lilac. Like it really feels like a neutral to me. And I actually striped this in. If you can see here, I was striping it into the first colour. And this is what I have left of this, which is again Centreplace Singles by Miss Click Clack. And this colour is Brilliant Oakland, it's called. And it's just beautiful. So that's what I have left of, it was I think 105 gram skein, and it says 360 metres per 100 grams. Yeah, it's so, so beautiful. Really, really love working with this fibre. It's very, very soft and fluffy. It creates a really nice halo. And again, this was this mottled kind of purpley tone just here. And then the final colour, which I really feel just brings it all in, is the unknown skein that I had in my stash. I had started working on it for a design that I kind of just set aside and hadn't done anything with, and had taken away the ball band. And yeah, now it's just this, and I don't know what it is, and it's beautiful. I know that it's hand dyed, and I feel like maybe it was dyed with logwood, I'm not sure. But it's a really beautiful, I can feel that it's not superwash. It's plied against itself, but I feel like it works really, really well with the singles, because it is just so kind of loosely plied and fluffy. You can see that halo. But it's really kind of woolly, and I love that. I love kind of rusticy, soft wools. So this colour just ties in so well with these other colours, I feel. Just beautiful. Kind of almost fadey. And yeah, I just feel like it ties in so well with the other colours. So this pattern has an I-cord bind off, an I-cord edge, sorry, that goes all the way around the bottom half, past the tip on the bottom, and then kind of all the way to the end just here. And yeah, I'm just so, so happy with it. I'm going to block it because I would love it to be a little bit bigger, and because it's all garter stitch, I think it will really bloom out. It needs a bit of help not to curl under. But it's a really, really wonderful shape. It's a very kind of subtle triangular shawl. It's definitely a triangle, but it's quite rounded on the bottom. And yeah, I'm thinking what I might do is use some of these leftover colours. I might just do this colour, I'm not sure, and do some tassels, one on each here, just to have the weight so it weighs down a little bit. I think it'll be really cute. So I'm so happy with this. Again, moving more towards neutral colours that are just a bit more wearable and kind of fit my style a bit more. So yeah, I'm so happy with this project, and I just love the way the colours kind of show through at different sections. It's really beautiful. Yay! So I am going to block this as soon as this episode is starting to load onto YouTube and create some tassels once it's been blocked. And again, this is what I have left of the yarns. So the first colour I have a fair amount left. The second colour definitely has the most used up, and then I've got a fair amount left of this third colour. And I will be putting these colours into my Cozy Memories blanket, which I will show you next. So I've got a very pretty project to share with you guys next. And this is my Cozy Memories blanket project. And all of my wonderful wools that I'm using for this so far are living in this gorgeous little wicker basket here. I've got a big array of kind of muted, earthy neutrals that I've used for other projects, some leftover sock wool, just some odds and ends, and I'm really happy with this palette. So yeah, this is based off of a free pattern on Ravelry called The Coziest Memory, which is a pattern by Kemper Ray. It's a free download, and I've adjusted quite a few things on here, but the main effect is the same. And it's a mitered square blanket, so it's these beautiful little squares which are done one by one with a central decrease in the middle. And as you can see, I've made a fair amount of progress. So I'm doing a 25, way too long. It's pretty much my arm span, if you can see here. So it's my arm span, it's 25 squares with 31 stitch cast on. And yeah, this project was completely inspired by Nicole of the Gentle Knitter podcast. She's currently working on a really beautiful kind of neutrals and blues and greys version of this pattern, and she's doing even tinier squares than I am. And this pattern, the squares are quite large. I think they're maybe 40 or 50 stitches. So even though mine looks quite small, hers is even smaller. I think she's doing 21 stitch cast on, so it's probably like squares about this big. Very beautiful, and I was completely inspired by her palette more than anything, because I'm just kind of going down the neutrals and dusty, earthy toned cast-ons at the moment. I realised how many little odds and ends I have and just how beautiful they'd look together. So totally inspired by seashells and yeah, just earthy neutrals, I guess you could say, and really enjoying the colour play in this project. So some of the things I've changed is I've changed the cast on. So I'm casting on 31 stitches, and the reason that it's an uneven amount, whereas in the pattern it's an even cast on, the reason that I'm doing 31 stitches is because I've chosen a centre double decrease, which is this kind of spine looking decrease just here. And to get this effect, because these squares are garter stitch, I just purl the middle square on the wrong side. And it comes out, I just feel like it's really beautiful and almost geometric effect. And some people even play with these lines and would have the lines coming back in the other direction on other rows, but I think I just really like them all heading across. But yeah, the colours just are making me very happy. And I'm very excited by this project. So I've done 25, how many have I done? 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. I've done 34 squares so far. So that's how long my blanket will be, and I'm about a third of the way through on the second row. And as you can imagine, this is going to be a long-term project. And one of the reasons I cast this project on is because we are building a tiny house. one, I would love to have a really beautiful cozy blanket to put on our little tiny house sofa. But also I find that if I have a large project like this that I can work on, it stops me randomly, and it's quite a simple project that I can just pick up at any point. It stops me randomly casting on things that I don't necessarily desperately want. And it also kind of basically teaches me how to be a process knitter instead of an end product knitter, which is quite important when you're trying to live more of a minimal lifestyle and being a crafter. So having something which just takes a long time, which gives me loads and loads of knitting pleasure, which also uses up all of these beautiful ends that might otherwise end up going in landfill, and also just creates a beautiful product at the end of it. It just makes me super, super happy and kind of really connects with all of my ethics. So if I eat a vegan diet, so I'm plant-based, if that's what you want to call it, vegan, plant-based, whatever you want to call it. And for me, wool is really, really precious, and I can see that for a lot of these wools, they won't have an ethical, they won't necessarily have an ethical background. And for me to honour the animals as much as possible, I just want to use their fibre to the absolute best of their ability and not waste any of it. And for me, this is just a wonderful project to do this. And touching briefly on the kind of vegan side of things, I've had quite a few questions just from really dear friends in the community asking me like how being a knitter sits with being vegan technically. And though I give myself the label of being vegan just to make it easier to be able to buy food out and things like that, it's also, I do what makes me feel good and what I feel comfortable with. And currently that is not eating any animal products. I eat a little bit of honey here and there. I don't eat eggs or dairy or meat, gelatin, anything like that. But I still purchase wool, and I recently had to purchase a pair of leather work boots because I couldn't find a vegan option. And so I'm not hard on myself with that. Things might change at some point, but currently I am also completely aware of the environmental standpoint and would so much prefer to purchase natural fibres than I would to purchase acrylic. So it's just finding that balance for me, and just relaxing with the idea that you don't have to pigeonhole yourself into a box. So whereas some vegans might be screaming at their YouTube video right now, for me, I feel quite comfortable with that. And I also want to share that when I can, I'm purchasing ethical wool, and that makes me feel really comfortable. There's some amazing small shepherds and farmers in Australia especially, and I'm sure throughout the world, who really care for their animals, and their animals have a wonderful life. So there are ways and means around it if you flatly refuse to purchase wool from non-ethical businesses. So it's basically the moral of the story is do whatever you feel comfortable with, and I'm doing what I feel comfortable with, and that might change depending on the knowledge that I have. So for now, I have ethical wool on my mind, and I am purchasing ethical wool. I'm also purchasing beautiful hand-dyed skeins where I don't know where the base was coming from. So I'm taking things gently, and I think that's the main thing, really. And I hope that answers your questions. I've had a few questions about that. So anyway, back to this project. I'm really super excited by this. I love the colours. I love the carefulness of the yarns that I'm choosing. This is the second Cozy Memories blanket that I've started. I've still got my previous one, and that was very much like a scrappy blanket, not worrying too much about what colour was coming next, and using kind of odds and ends that I'd been given. And it doesn't bring me half as much joy as kind of the careful consideration of how the colours play together. And that says something about my personality. I love colour, and I love how colours work together, and this just brings me so much joy. So thank you, Nicole, from the Gentle Knitter podcast, for inspiring me to do this, and also just other wonderful folks like Tuscan Knits and Bee Mandarins, who I just totally love their aesthetic and love watching what they're making. So yes, this is my coziest memories, and I've got a couple of other projects to share with you that are works in progress, and also another project which I am about to start, because I wouldn't let myself start until I'd finished my Stay Soft shawl. Alright, so this next project is living in this gorgeous leopardy red drawstring project bag, which is made by a lovely friend of mine called Judith. And in here is my Tegna, which is a pattern by Boyland Knits, which you guys may have seen other versions of. There's been quite a few versions going around this past season. And as you know, because I'm living in Australia, though you guys are most likely going to be going into autumn and winter, we are going into spring and summer. So this is a perfect kind of springy, summery knit. And it's on quite a small cable, which makes it really comfortable to work because I'm doing lots of lace. But yeah, so this is the Tegna. It's a pattern by Boyland Knits, and it's a beautiful, really floaty, kind of oversized top. And the version done by the designer has kind of t-shirt length sleeves, and I'm going to do mine to just below the elbow. And the plan is to have this as a cropped, kind of flowy layer to go over the top of linen dresses. And I just think it would just be beautiful. So the lace on this is just gorgeous. I'll see if I can show you a bit more of the design. Don't know if you can see that any better. It's quite an intricate lace pattern. I think there's something like 40 or 50 rows, and I'm really having to concentrate on those. I think I'm about 2/3 of the way through. I'm maybe on a row 30, something like that. And I just love how it's coming out. It kind of almost looks like cathedral windows. It looks quite architectural almost to me. And it creates this beautiful, beautiful kind of floaty hem. And the yarn that I'm using is by Spinning Yarns Weaving Tales. And this is her coastal base, which is a lamb's wool and cotton blend. And it creates this really gorgeous, almost like linen-y feel yarn. It's fluffy, it's slightly fluffy. It definitely feels more cottony than it does woolly. And it's 55% lamb's wool, 45% cotton. It's quite a sturdy yarn. There's actually 700 meters per 100 grams, so it's definitely a lace weight. And I managed to make this project work, even though it's a 4-ply, just by adjusting my needle size. And it's creating this really, really gorgeous open fabric. And I think it will just look gorgeous and be really just a beautiful layer to add over the top without being too warm. So I'm very, very excited about this project. This is the first ball, and then I've got these 2 balls as well, and these are 50 grams. So there'll be 350 meters per one of these. So yeah, that's my Tegna. I've put in a fair amount of work into it, but you wouldn't think so. It's pretty slow going at the moment. I'm not using any stitch markers in between my lace repeats, which the designer recommends for obvious reasons. I can read my knitting enough to see where I need to do things, but it does mean I just need to be a bit aware of what I'm doing, so I can't really watch anything while I'm doing this. I just listen to music, but I can't, yeah, it's I've kind of got to get to the end of the row so I know where I am. But it's really, really beautiful. Let's see kind of the leafy design there. So that's my Tegna, which is a pattern by Boyland Knits, and it's really, really well worded. It's a really nice pattern. So yeah, the main modifications that I'm going to do on that will be I'll probably make it a bit more cropped, because hers goes to around about kind of belly length, and I think that I want mine to be a little bit shorter, and yeah, have mine hit just below the elbow instead of to about here. Alright, I've got one more project to share with you, and it's actually a design project. And I know I'm probably not supposed to, but I like sharing my designs with you, so I'm going to. This is just a little project bag that I made myself out of some really sweet batik fabric, because I was running out of project bags. Actually, I've got another project to show you after this. Alright, so this is a sock design project, and it's one that I have been working on for the last couple of weeks, and it's one that I had been thinking about for a little bit longer than that. And right, so I'm using, again, it's Miss Click Clack, and it's an 80/20 Australian superwash merino nylon blend, and this is her Merry Creek sock yarn, which is super sweet because the Merry Creek is a river that goes through the centre of Melbourne, so it's nice to have that name. And it's this really beautiful kind of mottled, soft, grey-brown tone. And this is her Bad Oyster colourway, which makes me laugh. I was born in Whitstable in Canterbury area in the UK, which is famous for its oysters. And whenever I go home to see my grandparents, it just smells like seafood and oysters. So got nice memories. So yeah, I've got 2 equal balls here, and I am working on this gorgeous little design. So the aim of this is I really wanted, I'm all caught up. Yeah, let's see if I can, I'm in a mess. There we go, let's see if I can untangle this so I can show you. There we go. So I'm calling this design the New Growth. I had to remember that. It's called the New Growth socks, and it's this beautiful, simple lace design that I've been working on. And this is a 60 stitch sock. Well, it's going to be a 60 stitch sock. That's hard to say. And it creates this beautiful, beautiful open design. It's just beautiful. So I'm really, really excited about this. There are going to be some other wonderful design elements that I am working on. And the aim of this was to create a lacy sock that has a bit of interest but is really kind of easy to memorise, because for me, I am such a vanilla sock kind of person. I love having socks on the needles, but if I have to think about them, then they don't get knit. I really want something that is super simple. And this design is a 4-row lace repeat, and it's really easy to memorise. So I'm very excited to get this pattern out to you guys. And yeah, it shouldn't be too long until it's available for test knitting. Very, very happy. And if you don't know, I sell patterns on Ravelry. My design name is Naturally Knit Designs, so you can find, currently I've got maybe 5 designs in my Ravelry shop. I've got some socks and also some accessory designs as well. And I'm so excited to add this to my online store very soon. So yes, that will be the New Growth socks. Yay! And finally, I've got one more knitting project, which is actually going to be a new cast on. I have been putting this one off. I started it, I did a gauge swatch, and I kind of cast on for the hem. but I wouldn't let myself do any more than that. And that is because I wanted to finish my Stay Soft shawl, because I was getting a bit overwhelmed by how many projects I had on the needles. So I've got currently including my Cozy Memories blanket, which is a long project, which I kind of don't want to count. I have, I think, 3 projects that I'm actively working on, so that's not too bad. And then this will be the 4th. But I was getting a little bit overwhelmed with how many projects were being cast on. So I am using for this, I'm using a cotton yarn. And this is Cascade Ultra Pima, which I picked up from my friend Emily's beautiful wool shop in Brunswick, called Maker Maker. If you ever are on Lygon Street in Brunswick and Melbourne, then you need to go and pop in. She's got beautiful yarns, lots of local ethical yarns, some wonderful Cascade and yummy things. So you should go and say hello. But I picked up this Pima cotton. It's an 8-ply, but I am using it like it's a sport weight and it's working well. And for anyone who doesn't know, a sport weight is just the American name for a 5 or a 6-ply. So it's kind of one thickness. I'm using it one thickness smaller than it kind of should be. But it's quite a small 8-ply, I would say. And the colour that I'm working with is this absolutely stunning, dusty, kind of cranberry, how would you describe it, rosy colour. It's one of my favourite colours. It's kind of like a almost orangey, bricky, red toned, but then quite earthy. And because of the cotton, it has this gorgeous sheen. And I actually have a store-bought cardigan that I wear all the time. It's kind of a vintage inspired cardigan with like a lacy detail, and it hits just below my natural waist, and it's just a bit too big and the material isn't very nice. And so my aim with this project is to create a similar garment that I know I'll wear. It's just great to shove on over tops and dresses, and it's basically this colour. And I just know it will go with everything in my wardrobe. So this is going to be another wardrobe staple, I think. And I have some beautiful cakes of this wool. Whoop. This cotton, sorry, as you can see here. And I think this cotton is from Peru. Let me just check. Yeah, it's a Peruvian cotton. And Cascade is an American company. So it's been all over the world, this cotton. And the pattern that I've decided I'm going to work from is the Audrey in Unst. And it's this pattern here. And it's a pattern by Gudrun Johnston. It's a paid-for pattern on Ravelry. And it's basically just a, well, this version, like the original version, it has a slightly elongated hip to kind of go over dresses and things like that. And I'm actually cropping mine so it's going to hit me at my natural waist. So I'm taking a couple of inches off of the pattern's hem. It has quite a long section of ribbing with some increases so that it goes, kind of follows your natural hip and waist. So I am actually cropping this slightly more, and pretty much other than that, sticking to the pattern. I don't know if you can see here, but it has this really beautiful lace design on the yoke, which is lovely, and it's really simple, which I like. So I cut that last week, I think. I swatched for this. I had to adjust needle sizes. I'm not sure what I ended up with, because these are knit picks and they don't have the sizes on them. But I'm just doing a twisted rib at the moment, and I'll be doing a few inches of twisted rib. And I think it's just going to be beautiful. I think I went down a needle size to hit gauge, which works really well for cotton, because cotton's pretty drapey and it will stretch out a little bit, generally in the length. So yeah, I think it will work well to have a needle size down just to give it a bit more structure. And this pattern, I'll read out the description for you. Audrey is a cute vintage-inspired cropped cardigan featuring a bib of Shetland lace. This cardie is knit seamlessly and worked bottom up with set-in sleeves. The sleeves are worked by picking up stitches that are at the armhole and working short row shapings to shape the cap. So one of my promises to myself was not to make any more raglan cardigans. And the reason for this is because, and you may have experienced this as well, depending on the shape of your shoulders, raglan can really not work for some people, and for me that's definitely the case. It works well as a pullover, where you don't have to, you can kind of work with the full stretch of the garment, but for me, for a cardigan, they just really don't fit very well. They always fall off of my shoulders, and I've experienced this with I knit the featherweight cardigan by Hannah Fedig, and that just falls off my shoulders all the time. It's really annoying, and you can see actually there's just not enough width for my shoulders. Like the cap just gets completely stretched out. And also I created and finished a Risen cardigan, which is a pattern by Melanie Berg, and I ended up ripping it all out, even though it's such a beautiful cardigan, because it just falls off my shoulders, and it was the most annoying thing ever. So I have lots of balls of mustard coloured yarn that are going to be made into a new project. So I'm really excited to try this cardigan and just see how this works for me, because I just think it will fit so much better having a kind of set-in sleeve. I really don't have much experience of seaming, so it's going to be a bit of a learning curve, but I like the fact with this project you're not having to seam in the sleeve, you're picking up stitches, so I think it will be a really good introduction to that. So yeah, I'm excited to start that one. I might start working on that today, on my day off. And this is living in my beautiful project bag. It's a linen project bag that was made for me by my dear friend Emily, who owns Maker Maker in Brunswick. It's this beautiful Rifle Paper Co. designed linen. It's gorgeous, and it's got this really amazing pink lining. So that is my Audrey and Unst by Gudrun Johnson. And I think that's all of my projects. I feel like I've been talking for a while, but there you go. So yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying all of your makes. I love reading your comments. It's been wonderful to reconnect with everyone, and I'm pretty good at answering comments and things, so please do get in contact below or on Instagram. And yeah, it was wonderful to share with you guys what I'm making and some of my finished objects, and I can't wait to see what you guys have been making as well. So yeah, until next time, I hope you have a lovely rest of your day and that you're enjoying your weekend. I'm hoping I'll be able to get this episode up today so you can enjoy it on your Sunday. And yeah, have a great week. Bye.